Okay then, welcome everybody to my talk, The Lazy Economy, Why Innovation is Dying Out. And I would like to start this talk with a quotation that the world is changing faster than at any time in human history. And in my opinion, this is a sentence we hear quite often nowadays. It's something, everybody says that is referred to quite often. And I mean, it's true, we do live in a very fast-changing world and a fast-changing economy. So when I think back of my childhood, I'm now 32 years old, so not too old, but still, I think of black and white TV, I think of cassettes, I think of floppy disks, I think later on VHS systems, so all these kind of technology that passed my life, so to say. And when I did homework, I had to go to the library, conduct my parents' books, the encyclopedia, in order to really come to write a good essay. When I wanted to listen to favorite music, I was sitting in front of the radio, recording cassettes, and got pretty angry when my favorite song got interrupted by the traffic news, for example. But does this all really make this the fastest changing time in human history? So actually this quotation comes from the Scientific American from 1864. This is quite some time ago, to be honest. Actually, that's the time of the Industrial Revolution. And of course, if we think back of this time, we see tremendous changes. We have the electricity, we had the steel production, so we could build train trails, we could build ships, we could build cars. Also, we had mass production that changed the labor system tremendously. And also, of course, the telephone that suddenly connected continents and made it possible to share information very, very quickly. And to illustrate this a little bit more, also the speed of implementation, I brought this example from the construction of the Continental Railway during that time as well, where they were able to build 3,300 kilometers of train tracks within 6 years. And if we have a look what is going on now, we can see that a train track from Berlin to Munich, which is only 623 kilometers long, took us 26 years to finalize and to finish. So, why is that? I mean, in the 21st century, you could assume that we know better and that we can do it in a quicker time frame. But of course we do have an increased complexity, and this results in a decrease of the speed and the implementation speed. We have a lot of laws, we had a lot of committees, also internally we have many policies going on in our companies, so that all slows down the speed. And if you think back of the industrialization, we see that there were so many things going on in many industries, whereas now we only have actually one revolution, which is the digital revolution. And here we see, as I said, the decrease of speed, we see an increased number of barriers, and we also do see fewer products that actually succeed in the market in the long term. So we can say we do live in a lazy economy. But why is that? What paralyzes us to really use our knowledge, to use our skills in an effective way, and to speed up the processes again, to be innovative faster, to come up with really good solutions? Well, we didn't find that one factor, but we divided it into 3 categories, which are technology, society, and economy. And I'd like to start with the first one, technology, or the curse of connection, as I call it. So, I think we all agree technology is somehow a Janus-faced thing. So it delivered us many possibilities, a lot of convenience. Think of all the services that came across through the internet. Think of Twitter, Facebook, wireless payment systems. All these kind of things increased our convenience and our way of living in a very big way. We are able to exchange information simultaneously. We are able to shop 24/7. We can do everything at any time with anybody. And during the past 20 years, also quite some technology came came along, which are referred to as being disruptive. So this is 3D printing. This is, of course, the smartphone that we all have in our pockets right now, augmented reality, or also blockchain. And these technologies have one thing in common: they are all digital technologies. And with digital technologies, there's this one thing that kind of turns the ecosystems as we knew complete upside down. And this is that we are able to make a copy, distribute the copy within no time, for almost no effort, no costs. So this really changed the entire way how we do business and how we do work together. And this is the reason why global platforms actually could evolve. And companies that are creating these global platforms, they have these two main characters. So you have on the one side the winner takes it all effect, and on the other side the locked in effect. So if we think of Apple, for example, when they came up with the iPhone, it was not the phone itself that was the revolution, but the business model, of course, behind. So for the first time, you could seamlessly integrate different services into this one platform. You could have different providers that give you all the information, and you had this integration of software and hardware. But the thing is, with these global platforms, as I said, you have this winner-takes-it-all effect. So now we have one big platform for search engines, we have one big platform for private housing, we have one big platform for video streaming. So all these kind of things, they're mainly one big player who is setting the rules. And it's true, I mean, they really do set the rules, and they do decide who is going to join their ecosystem and who is not. So they have an interest that competition that might be better gets out. So they hinder innovation, in a matter of fact. And here Sonos, they decided to play with the rules of Apple, but there might be better manufacturers outside that do not play with the rules or that do not have the money to buy a license. So they are just hindered to really join that ecosystem. And the second one is the locked-in effect. So here we see that, people are quite comfortable within these platforms and within these ecosystems. And of course, the companies try to keep them inside. They lull the consumers in with a lot of convenience. They increase it by time to time. They add other services. Again, thinking of Apple, we have Apple payment systems. So it gets more and more complex to get out of the system, and this one platform takes over everything of your life, so to say. So to conclude, we can say that platforms are like opium to the people. We have these two effects, as I said: the winner takes it all, so no room for a second big player, and the locked-in effect that they're really playing with, and that we also somehow agree on. So, coming to us, we can say we somehow choose convenience above self-determination. And that brings me to the second aspect, which is society, the rise of Homo commodum. We have all this technology. It makes us feel good. Everything is convenient. Everything is at hand. We feel as if we have all the information, as if we have all the possibilities, as if we are able to really make informed decision. But in fact, that's not really true, I have to tell, because there's just an apparent diversity of information. So we all do live in our own filter bubble. We all do live in a world that is created not by us, but that is created for us. That is created based on the decisions that we took, and based on this we get other suggestions, and that makes it increasingly difficult for us to really get confronted with the different and to think out of your own box. I don't like this expression, but it's true. And it also leads to the effect that we as a community become more and more equal. So you see that there are more groups coming up, more smaller groups, but within the groups we are all more or less the same. We listen to the same music, we shop the same clothes, we go to the same restaurant, we order the same food, we stream the same videos, so we are quite similar within our social groups. And we do not really have the chance to get confronted with something different and to get in a good conversation and a good discussion. And that also hinders us to become more innovative and more reflective on things. And this is also one of the reasons why these guys are so famous at the moment, because they just use this demand for simplicity that we have. So we, in this complex world, we search for simple answers, we search for structure, we search for guidance, and they provide all of this. So it makes it quite easy for them to convince many people, as they just have seemingly simple answers. To sum it up, we can see that there is a loss of diversity within our society. So, of course, we have the digitalization, which increases the speed of information, which is good, which is positive, but it also reduces the variety as we cannot handle it any longer. And as I said, it's increasingly difficult to be confronted with the different or with a different opinion. And I'd like to quote or refer on this guy called Richard David Precht. It's a German philosopher. And he said, if we don't manage to preserve and nurture our uniqueness, we won't inspire anyone and we won't be inspired anymore. And I think this is a sentence, if you just take this sentence home, I would be very lucky. Because, if you think about it, it tells you what it's all about. So, let's come up with the last area that I want to talk about, which is economics, the destruction of competition. So having all these information in mind of the technology, of the humans, of the society, you can of course imagine that economy and also politics have an influence on it and are a factor as well. And in 2011, there were this Swiss research institute that analyzed 37 million companies worldwide and analyzed how they are connected by their shareholdings, because they wanted to investigate how powerful are certain companies. And they were quite surprised by this result, because they found that there are only 147 companies that do control 40% of the world economy. Most of them are banks. More and more technology providers come into this, and this trend towards a monoculture is still growing, so it's going on. And of course, you can imagine these companies, they are connected by common interests, so they support each other and they keep others out, which makes it really difficult to come up with innovations. Another effect is that innovations are often acquired before they die. So this is an example from a company, Chaotic Moon, in 2015. They came up with a digital plaster, which is able to measure all your body functions. And this is something that was evaluated as being very successful, and there was this outlook for 2018 that there's going to be like a very big market, because it's something that is just very useful for many cases, many types of patients. And they were acquired by Accenture in this case. It could be anybody, but in this case it was Accenture. And they were mainly interested in getting the people on board. They were looking for top talent. They were looking for people that are able to develop these kind of technologies, but they were not so much interested in the technology itself, because it didn't really fit their current product portfolio. So, the result was that this innovation, which is really good and is really meaningful, just blurred away, faded out, and was never a success. So, all these effects lead to a decrease in the productivity within our industrialized countries. Actually, since the new economy, we can also see that there's this concentration of market power increasing, as I told you, with the 147 companies. And we also see that the trade restrictions are going up, even far before Donald Trump was there, but of course now it's rising even more. So to sum it up, it's somehow about attack versus defense. So we do have a concentration of power. We have these few companies that kind of rule the world, that set the market, and that decide on where our world is going to. They have strategic alliances, and of course they do strategic acquisitions in order to hinder innovation, in order to suppress innovation, and to become stronger than themselves. And ultimately, this all leads to less productivity and to less competition. And we all know that we really need competition in order to be successful as an entire community, as an entire society. So Peter Thiel once said, "We wanted flying cars, all we got was 140 characters," which I think sums up this development quite well. And yeah, finally, it's just bam, I mean, there we are. We do live in a lazy economy. This is where we are. This is what we do. We have only one revolution at the moment. That's the digital one. I showed you some effects on the technology. We have this winner takes it all and the locked-in effect, so that these platforms really like get us into them. Within the society, we see a very big loss of diversity and the increasingly difficulty to get confronted and to discuss the different. And in the economy, we have a loss of competition, and we have a concentration of power. So we can see that all these mechanisms that I've shown you, they are really not supporting the goal of developing groundbreaking, new and radical innovations and ideas, and to make the world a better place ultimately, because this is also what our forefathers like Edison were doing, making our world a better place. And I think this is what innovation should be about. So I think we should think big again. We should step out of our comfort zone and develop these step-by-step approaches, just improving the technology, improving the digitalization. We should aim at achieving impact. We should think radical again and address topics that go far beyond the digitization. So I think the topics that we currently have that would make our world a better place are topics like the urbanization, water shortage, pollution, all these kind of things. And maybe you in the end will make you and your company obsolete, but you'll create something new. And this is what keeps us going and keeps us turning. So if you want to know more about this, I invite you to come over to our booth, get your personal moonshot card in order to kickstart your disruption in your company. So, thank you very much. On time.